Okay, we are here. The 91st Annual Academy Awards has just wrapped up, and I'm going through my gold book, my awards book, which of course is the Movie Awards Ultimate Unofficial Guide to the Oscars, written by Gold Derby's own Tom O'Neill. And I'm just trying to peruse through to find out what were the rules, what were the tea leaves I could have picked up on to predict Green Book taking out Best Picture. Massive upset. Rob, Licuria, you're a student of awards and Oscars. What is the rule from the Gold Book that you are going to be taking this year? Or maybe adding to the Gold Book.
Well, here's the thing, right? I want to say WTF, oh my goodness me, I'm stunned. Before you started recording, I was like gobsmacked. I can't believe it. It was an amazing ceremony. I can't believe Green Book won. I'll leave a comment. But my rule is going to be, from now on, I'm just going to put more stock into the preferential PGA winner, because I didn't do that last year for Shape of Water, and I didn't do it again this year. I thought Roma had it, and I'm never doing it again. So there you go.
Amanda Spears, what do you think? This really, and this has happened a couple times in the past few years, where I've been getting ready for the post show, sort of starting to wind up, that last envelope gets open and just something unexpected happens. What are your thoughts coming off the Green Book win for Best Picture?
Well, I'm sure that the Farrelly brothers is getting like a case of champagne from Paul Haggis, since we now have a new worst Best Picture ever.
Oh.
Congratulations. I would have taken almost any other of these films over this one, and that is not something I can say in most years. I think what ultimately happened was all of the hurdles in Roma's way, they tripped over one. And I think the last thing they needed was box office, because we don't know if it made anything at the box office, and a $60 million campaign. I think that probably turned off some people. I think they could have overcame the foreign language bias. But I think ultimately it was and the brashness of the campaign they ran that probably tripped them up. And Netflix has a really crappy record of winning the big award. I mean, it's never won a series award. And remember, 2 years ago, it had half of the nominees for drama series and lost to Hulu. It's never won comedy series.
Yeah,
it's only one TV movie and foreign language film. It's never taken a big prize. Mm-hmm. And they just can't make it rain and think they're going to win. I mean, they've got to restrain themselves going forward next year, especially since we saw a preview for The Irishman. So I think that's the big takeaway. I actively dislike Green Book, but I don't know if I should do Green Book, or to Daniel's point and his in one of his emails he sent us, I don't know if it's in the blog, where he's like, this is the second time Mahershala Ali has done this, with a film winning for him, screenplay and film. So I'm kind of wanting to blame Mahershala Ali now.
Okay.
I'm looking for someone to blame, because I'm at that irrational bargaining stage in my grief.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I would have rather taken any of these films.
Yeah, my takeaway is I think we really need to pay a lot more attention to what we think is going to win one of the screenplay awards. Because how many times in the last few years have we seen a film win Best Picture, not win directing, and win screenplay? Moonlight did it. 12 Years a Slave did it, I think. There's at least one other one. Oh, Spotlight did it.
Spotlight.
So there's at least 3 that did not win directing and at least picked up, if nothing else, a screenplay award and maybe an acting trophy. So I think I know we didn't all have Green Book winning screenplay, but it was In Play was probably our second choice. And I think we really need to pay more attention to what's going to win one of those screenplay awards.
But what happened at WGA? It didn't win there, and it won here, and it's nothing makes sense anymore. And I don't know whether I'm Arthur or Martha, and I don't know what to say.
Like I'm pulling my hair out in this, like looking at Peter Farrelly out there, going, he didn't even get nominated for Best Director.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you know what? I agree.
Wasn't even on the in the directing nominees.
But we have seen a trend now, with the exception of Braveheart. If you're not nominated for SAG Ensemble, you still need to show up at SAG, because we saw last year's winner, The Shape of Water. It got 2 nominations, 3 at the Oscars. Green Book got 2 nominations, one. So it is still important to be nominated for SAG, but maybe the SAG Ensemble is there's a little bit more wiggle room.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think that writing is the new directing prize.
Writing is the new directing.
Yeah. Like we used to, there was only 5 films. It would make sense why 2 might not go to a Best Picture nominee. But under the expanded era, we have seen 20 for 20 go to a Best Picture nominee.
Yeah.
If it was just the writer's branch, I think Can You Ever Forgive Me would have had a fighting chance. But with the expanded branch,
yeah, and
it had no shot.
If writing's the new directing, Alfonso Cuarón, the new Ang Lee, winning these directing prizes without taking home Best Picture.
Good
2
point.
Best Directing awards, no Best Picture awards for Alfonso Cuarón. It was a very uphill battle against 12 Years a Slave a couple of years ago. Just the political potency of that film and its power was hard for a sci-fi to overcome. This year, he was in the box seat. He was in that front runner position. And look, he won 3 Oscars tonight. He did well for himself. I think he's having a lot of drinks and he's having a great time. And in director, he definitely.
No one would thank more than Yalitza Marina. It's like they know you love him. Like once is enough.
Yeah.
3 is a little overkill. And by the way, where's Iñárritu? Like he couldn't present with them. Like let's see the 3 amigos on stage together. I'll stop.
Yeah.
No, but there you go.
What a night.
It's a big night. Green Book, the best movie of the year, according to the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences. It took 2 other awards with it, Screenplay and Best Supporting Actor. I think the other big story of the night was Best Actress.
Unbelievable.
Was I can't imagine that it wasn't close, but because it must have been
close.
It wasn't close, but I imagine it was a close race in terms of votes.
Yeah.
So close losers, a close race for Best Actress. So it must have been close, Rob, right?
It must have been close, and that's a great pun. We're going to use it over and over again. I was very disappointed for Glenn Close. She was a trooper, though. She really just she did her best acting ever in her whole career, because she would have been buying into this whole narrative that she had this in the bag. Everybody's been talking about it, and she's only human, right? And she would have been ready to get up there and claim
she
that
was
Oscar
dressed
after
to
30
win.
years.
Like if you see like how Meryl dressed when she won for the Iron Lady, like she was
she was ready to go
for her coronation.
The coronation, exactly.
That's right. But she then
she had a cape and everything for that dress. Like
she missed out to Olivia Colman, and I'm very, very happy for her though, because what a moment. She gave us the Glenn Close moment from the Globes. Olivia Colman gave us that moment at the Oscars, because that was genuine authenticity. That was surprise. That was joy.
Colman has been very great all award season, and the 2. She basically got.
Hello.
Looks like Amanda's frozen.
We've lost Amanda.
Yeah.
Either Amanda's frozen or I have.
I think it's Amanda.
I think it's her.
I was going to say that I was really excited. I love surprises, although I'm disappointed when it's someone who's so like primed to win and then doesn't win, especially someone so overdue. But this is a lesson, I suppose, that BAFTA does have some clout. We have to follow. It's another academy. It has some overlap in membership, and also the favorite looked like it was going to go home empty-handed, and it thankfully didn't, because it had 10 nominations, and it was like I was thinking, God, they're going to actually give it nothing, and then she won that award completely by surprise. But was it really a surprise? I mean, if Glenn Close wasn't so overdue, we would have been saying that this was going to be a very tough race between them anyway. Yeah, so I am still floored by that. There was a couple of other surprises during the show, but that one there, I mean, I was like, I actually screamed out, no! And then I was like, oh, I'm happy for her, though. So I didn't know what to do. It was very strange.
It was, for me, the weirdest moment, because I was so happy for Coleman. It was such a wonderful Oscar moment, but I was really excited for Glenn Close to finally win, and I was heartbroken that she lost. And I to be honest, preferred Glenn Close's performance as well, and all those sorts of things, even though Coleman was fantastic. David?
I thought Coleman's line about talking to Glenn and saying, I wish it didn't have to be this way, was just exactly how I was feeling too, because, you know, I have no animosity towards Coleman for winning, but just not hearing Glenn Close's name was so deflating. And Rob, I want you to take that Oscar off your shelf and FedEx it to Glenn Close so she has one. I mean, I was so heartbroken, and I really it was kind of an out-of-body experience, because we had just built this narrative, and I don't know if any of us, of all 4 of the acting categories, you know, we were questioning, will there be an upset in supporting actress? It could go somewhere else. In supporting actor, could go to somebody else. Even actor, we were kind of pretty sure on Rami, but not sure. Did anybody really question that Glenn would not win tonight of the 4 acting categories? No. And it was just going to according to script.
I thought she could lose.
I didn't really see it not happening.
I thought that I thought it was closer than we thought, but I thought it would tip Close's favor. But, you know, we saw this with Nicole Kidman and Renee Zellweger, where they both won Globes. SAG went to Zellweger. No offense, but Kidman is Aussie. Just went to Kidman. And we still thought, you know, Zellweger's in the Best Picture front runner. She's going to win. But by a nose, Kidman took it. And we saw the exact same thing play out this season to a T. And it's one of those things where we can't just write it off as, oh, the BAFTAs awarded one of their own. I mean, Coleman gives the flashiest performance. It's really, she's at like a 14 in that film. And I just thought it was so endearing how shocked she was that Emma Stone basically had to like lift her up to win, to like go on stage. Like, you need to get up. And I did love her, like, I'm never going to be back up here again. I'm leaving when I'm ready. Like, good for you.
This has to be one of the most ironic, like, Oscar years of all time. Not only like just things like Green Book winning without the director nomination, stuff like that, but like The Favorite lost in every category where it was the favorite, and it won a category where it wasn't the favorite.
But it was a great ceremony. It was a lovely way to have one big shock.
Yeah.
Just seeing Spike Lee wrap his legs around, oh my God, no, Samuel L. Jackson. It was just a lovely night. And those wins by Black Panther were great.
They were really great.
Even Ludwig Göransson's speech was amazing.
Beautiful.
Like, way to prove why you need to have, why those people in the below the line categories need to be up there.
I just want to just following on from that. Every film that had their due won something, and I just was really into this Oscar show. After all this shithouse lead up, this was a great show. It was so pacey. It was so like relevant and beautifully designed. And having no host was even better. Do that again. Bring out those 3 ladies again, because they were so funny, and then they were off. And then they gave
us like the perfect mini 3-minute monologue where it's like they made fun of each of the nominees and then they just got on with the show.
There wasn't any stupid clip packages that we didn't really need, although the Best Picture presentations aren't necessary. But okay, we can have them. We were straight back into the awards. If you're only at
3 hours and 15 minutes, is it really that?
Yeah, we're doing well. I think more of that. And can I just say also, just in case I have to leave, that the best moment of the night for me was Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper singing Shallow. I was so stunned and moved by that performance. It was so real and genuine and beautifully done and on point. And I'm just very, and you could see the audience was really into it. There were a lot of standing ovations tonight, by the way. Like that room.
Too many.
maybe it kind of it defeats the purpose when you have so many. You're right. But I think the show really hit a lot of really good points. Yeah, a lot of good.
There were so many good wins, and Spike Lee's genuineness for Ruthie Carter, like it made me like. My mom was watching with me, and she's like, why is he so excited about trying to explain it to her? And she's like, oh, sweet. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's really, really sweet that all of this happened, and the three others who really were good sports. Same thing with production design. You know, where this isn't their moment, and they realized it. Like they get the trophy, but it's Spike Lee's moment. It's her moment. Like it's really hard. I'm sure, and have to be the one to stand there and no, it's not your chance to speak. So good for them.
Yeah. David, do you have a highlight from the show or a particular favorite moment?
Not off the top of my head. I do agree. I just thought the pacing was really great, and I was on such a high until the last few categories, and now I'm coming crashing down. But yeah, I would really recommend not having a host again. Try it again. Kind of work out some of the. You know what? To be honest, one of the lows for me was I didn't think a lot of the presenters really worked together. The pairings were odd. There was no, and with the exception of a few really great presenters, they didn't really bring out anybody from like Hollywood, you know, legendary folks that made people really amp up the room. I mean, you know, Streisand was there, was great. Julia Roberts, Bette Midler performed, but there was nobody that really came out that really elevated, I thought, kind of the atmosphere. And they need to do better, I think, in picking presenters and pairing presenters.
Yeah.
Amanda, do you have a moment from the show, or your thoughts on the overall show in general?
I loved Coleman's win. I just genuinely love when the actors are genuinely, you can tell they're genuinely shocked. They're not doing that. Oh, I won. I've won 5 awards already this year for this performance. Me? I do think they had everyone their present. I know Chris was like nitpicking about production design, and I think Chris Evans presenting that. There's so many from Marvel that I'll let that one slide, but I think if you're going to have everybody from Black Panther present an award, why not do what you did during like the Bridesmaid year, where you have like 6 of them come out and they split off in a group and just present all the shorts back to back? That would have been better than having like Denai Guria in this awkward position where it's like, we lost sound editing, yay, we lost sound mixing, woo, I'm so excited. Because it did put some of them in like a weird position where if you want to have somebody from Black Panther, and same thing with song and score, it's like, it's just better, give them 3 categories that they're not in. But then you get them all in and they can do something cute where, like, you know, Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan talk about who killed the other or something, you know.
Yeah.
So that would be my one note. But otherwise, I thought if they're not going to have a host, have a good comedian or two do a mini monologue like what we got with those 3 amazing ladies who I love. It's and so then funny. Just have a megastar at the end who everyone loves, just present Best Picture and say thanks for tuning in. That's the 91st Oscars. Love you. Good night. That was pretty great.
Yeah,
I thought it was a really well-paced show.
Yeah, I thought the failings in the show from my perspective was just a few, like just sort of like stuff, the way they ordered the categories and paired people up, and usually the pairing people up's a bit off. I think the particular orders, like I think Chris Beecher made a really great comment that there was like just a massive drought between supporting actress and supporting actor, and just so like some of those little things, but that's sort of more of a nitpicky sort of area. I think it flowed quite well, although part of me thinks I'm not so like excited about the no host work. I almost feel like I'd love to have seen Paula Rudolph and Faye have had a little bit more time at the beginning. Like if you just had a bit of time, like I would have liked that to be like, rather than a 3-minute bit, like maybe a 6 or an 8-minute bit. I think they were commanding the stage really well.
I would have traded the Queen performance for more time with them, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of agree with that.
and let time for their jokes to like the thing I missed a bit with the rushed opening was I always love when there's a joke made and you've got like a moment just to let it sit and you can then pan to some people in the audience and how they've responded to that sort of bit. But no, I think we're really well. I think 3 minutes of them was better than probably what Kevin Hart would have done in 10, controversy aside. So
and then
I think it actually worked out so well for the producers that they got to open
I
with
think
those
it's
three
like
ladies.
we got all the categories. We got 4 out of 5 songs. Good for having the president do the in memoriam because he doesn't want to give a speech, clearly. Yeah. And then, you know, I don't care if they present all the best picture clips. They're only going to go 3 hours and 15 minutes. I think that's a decent time. Plus, they didn't play people off as much as I thought they were going to. So, like, there's a few, and I think that, like, without a host, we lose all that bullshit that takes up a lot of time. Like, we didn't have food dropped into the audience. The only thing I want dropped into the audience is Michael Key.
No gimmicks.
Michael Key.
Thank God for that. Did you also agree? First, I thought the design of the songs, the design of the stage, and the way that was set up was really beautiful. And I was really, I just was so happy that we saw clips because sometimes they do away with the clips or they cut them at the end of the show because we've spent half an hour listening to the makeup winners stumble through a speech where they're reading the paper. I was like, get off the TV! I was so angry at those people. No wonder they were going to put me in the commercials.
You're angry.
But you know what I miss? I really miss, if you're going to make it 3 hours and 15 minutes, can you squeeze another 15 minutes in there and show us a bit more of the score or a bit more of the scores or a bit more of the costumes? And I love the art of the filmmaking that we don't get to see a lot of these days because it's all about showing clips of the best picture nominees instead of show us the costumes. So I want to see what Mary Queen of Scots is all about, what it looked like, you know, that kind of thing.
The Hugh Jackman year. Sorry,
yes,
I was going to say the Hugh Jackman year did that the best. Like you might, whether you thought it was the best host or the best presenters or the best whatever, the way they structured the awards and told the story of filmmaking was the best that year.
I agree.
Yeah. Sorry, Amanda, I cut you off. And I'm going to invite. So we're going to just wrap up this part of the panel sort of now. Amanda will let you finish, and people cut in if they want. But I'm going to say
other thing that
Riley, Denton, and Marcus join.
The only thing I really didn't like was I want to see Allison Janney present actor. I don't care if nobody knows who she is. I don't care if she's on CBS, ABC. That's bullshit. Let her present. Same thing with Sam Rockwell. Those are the only 4 individuals I want to see present individually. I don't care if Charlize Theron's won an Oscar.
Who cares? Like, why do they do that? Unless they're going to put like someone major to present that award, just let bloody Allison Janney do it.
Yeah, unless it's like the 100th Oscars and they have 5 past winners up there doing it. Then I don't want to see that. I want the tradition of you win, you present the opposite category the next year. Although I did love how gracious Frances McDormand was with scooping up Olivia Colman's train. I thought that was like, she's so sweet.
Yeah, they've done a much better job with especially Best Actor and Best Actress in the past. I didn't like the way they presented them at all. Number one, having the 2 people and then just, you know, showing clips without, there was nothing, again, I made this point earlier, but there was nothing like grandiose about the last few categories. It was very kind of drab. And they need to do a bit better. I thought the production design overall, except for the projections behind like the best performances with, you know, like the Supreme Court or the Western, you know, skyline. I thought they were pretty, like the kind of production design overall was kind of bland. Like we've seen.
And I feel like we all know Shallow's going to win. Like we all know. Like anybody who's like got a pulse knows. My mother has seen none of these movies and she knows that Shallow's going to win Best Song. They didn't need to be so obvious in the production design of that compared to design where it's like
they staged that. It's just so different. So beautiful.
And then we're going to give this big cinematography moment again to Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
But like that performance, like I think I got pregnant from that, just from watching that performance. It was just off the charts. The
on the cover of People magazine. Like,
amazing.
What I liked, like even though I didn't love the We Will Rock You Queen performance, I think it was good. It tied in with one of the Best Picture nominees. It got like people in the audience reacting. I think Shallow was a very similar thing. It wasn't just the Best Song nominee. It was one of the cinema moments of the year. was the scene of that, and to sort of recreate that in a new way was really cool. I'd like to see a few more like fun bits, like doing a nod to some of the films. I would have liked to see someone, you know, coming on with a mop, cleaning the floor like in Roma, or, you know, someone come out with a bucket of KFC chicken, or I don't know. I just feel like there was sort of like just because of that desire to rush things through, there was a bit less of a spotlight done on films.
I love
unless
Melissa
you had
McCarthy.
Yeah, at least Melissa McCarthy. They were great.
The costume with all the rabbits. And, yeah, no, that was another really good
She's a treasure, that woman. She's just so funny.
I hope she wins the next time. If she ever's nominated again, I pray she finally wins, because she was, one, she's a good sport, and two, that was like the best bit of all. But I agree with like Chris, with like, they have Jason Momoa and Emilia Clarke. Like, are you people, like, they need to hire someone like Chris who knows TV, knows movies, knows the history of the show, and then goes, if you want to make people happy and you want to make people like go crazy
and create,
have those two present together, and then people will go and look it up on YouTube. Like, they're not getting remix.
Still waiting for Riley. Sorry, Amanda. Just still waiting for Riley, Denton, and Marcus to beam on in when they're ready. Continue. Sorry, Amanda.
But yeah, I just think that, like, again, like, they need to hire someone from outside of the Academy and outside of ABC who understands these awards, understands who they have presenting, and goes, put those two together and you will make so many people happy. Put these two people together. Don't do this because it's so obvious. And they would really, I mean, we're just nitpicking, but at this point, because they really deserve like an A- for this show.
Yeah.
After
but if you're not going to have
crap that has happened this year, they get like an A- as far as putting a show together.
And if you're not going to have a host, oh, sorry, Matt. No, I was just going to say, if you're not going to have a host, then you really need to pay more attention to the presenters and the pairing of presenters, because they're kind of carrying the show award to award in a way that, and I like that. I like the idea, like, work on that, kind of let the host, you know, sit out a few years and really get that right. I think that would be so much better.
Yes. Well, thank you, Amanda, David, and Rob, for all your thoughts, insight, and analysis on a very tumultuous Oscar night.
Tumultuous.
Tumultuous.
Sure was.
Is that a correct word? I think that's
it. No, you're right. It was tumultuous.
It was good.
Okay. Very good. And we are now, so if you guys want to
have a good night, everyone.
Hi, guys.
Okay,
bye.
And now we've got Marcus and Riley with us. Riley, we'll kick off with you. What's your big takeaway from this evening?
Well, Green Book won, right?
Yes, it did.
I mean, Gold Derby was not quite expecting that. So I don't know, how many years is that now that we've gotten Best Picture wrong?
At least half, but I think that's conservative.
Maybe let's actually not look into that.
Yeah.
How confident were you guys that Roma was winning? We all kind of thought it could win, it could lose. Like, no one was like 100%, right?
Yeah, I was sort of I was sort of somewhat confident though, because I didn't see what else was going to win. So it wasn't like a confidence in Roma; it was a lacking confidence in the other nominees. So I was somewhat surprised, but definitely not shocked, like when La La Land lost, or when Brokeback Mountain lost. Like I was shocked those years. This year I was like, oh, okay, right.
I had Roma winning picture and screenplay until the WGA when they didn't go. Green Book. I had Green Book winning screenplay and picture. When WGA did not go with Green Book, I'm like, oh, well, the support's not there like I thought it was, and I switched, and now I'm really regretting it.
Is something? Oh, sorry, Riley.
Precursor this year. I think that with all the new members in the Academy is no longer, like the writers branch of the Academy is no longer a representative sample of the Writers Guild of America, and it seems maybe of the Academy at large either. Because, I mean, Can You Ever Forgive Me obviously didn't win. 8th Grade didn't get nominated for the Oscar, which, you know, should be impossible because the Oscars go by #1 votes to determine their nominations. And it got the most #1 votes at the Writers Guild, and it came 6th at best at the Oscars. So
Yeah. Do you think, Riley, have we haven't really touched on this much, and I know you know stats and you real know your awards stuff. Do we not look enough into the editing snub of Roma, which Green Book got an editing nomination, and it wasn't necessarily the most edited film of the year?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, Roma had longer takes than the average film, but it wasn't like Birdman where it was only one take, or at least presented that way.
And I think the best director snub for Green Book is more of a snub than Roma not getting into editing. The fact that Peter didn't get into directing was just shocking.
Yeah.
Now it just wins. And Chris Beecham, he can't join us, but he just sent me a message. Everyone's comparing Green Book to Driving Miss Daisy, right? Because it's like two films with people chatting in a car. It turned out both won Best Picture without directing nominations. They both won screenplay, and they both won an acting award. So that's pretty crazy.
And the acting award for both was the passenger, not the driver of the film. Marcus, is there any what category would you like to talk about, Marcus?
I'm still devastated. I'm not a crier, but I almost cried when Glenn Close lost. I mean, I think we all agree Olivia Colman, she did a great job.
Oh yeah.
But is Glenn Close ever going to get another chance? I mean, this is a record now. No actress has ever had 7 losses, and that's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, I think she's the best actor or actress. Like not gender specific, the best actor not to have an Oscar, in my opinion.
I think she would agree with you.
Would she? Oh, okay, good. Riley, how do you break down this Close Coleman heartbreaker?
I mean,
heartwarmer for Coleman.
Like, she was certainly dressed to win.
She was dressed like an
I'm glad that she didn't win. I mean, not because of her performance or how I feel about any of the performances, but I do feel like there was a sentiment that she was going to win regardless of her performance. I mean, nobody really cared whether she was good. It was more just about her being overdue, because The Wife is not a movie that the Oscars really responded to, or anyone did, whereas The Favorite is a movie that they responded to. And I always find that these overdue narratives are a slippery slope.
Yeah. Lady Gaga won her first Academy Award for singing, for writing. Sorry, not for the singing, for writing "Shallow." That was probably one of the big moments of the night. Marcus, what was your highlight this evening in the show?
That was my highlight. And not just, they did a great job singing, but the way they presented that whole production. They didn't introduce them, which was great. And the camera focused on the audience the whole time in the background, not the other way around. And so we see them, in the first row, and they come up, and then it's all choreographed. It was just beautiful to watch. Yeah.
Riley, do you have a favorite moment from this evening?
I think I probably missed too much of the show, actually, due to technical difficulties. But I got a kick out of at the end where Julia Roberts said, "Well, I guess we're done." So I guess she was just the one who was closest to the microphone, and they said, "Okay, you keep talking," or what happened there?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that was weird. Do you think Whoopi was supposed to be a part? I mean, she was listed as a presenter, and she didn't show up. Apparently, she had pneumonia, but I wonder if she was supposed to close.
Oh, maybe she's meant to be. Yeah, but that's it does seem like she was actually sick. She wasn't.
Yeah. It was not a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
The strange thing about that whole conspiracy theory is that, do we have tabs on Billy Crystal? Because, I mean, we know that Whoopi Goldberg is on The View every day, so if she's not there, then we know that something's going on. But, do we know what Billy Crystal or any other normal hosts are doing on a day-to-day, or?
No, not really. Yeah, maybe they should do that when you're a secret host. Just just get someone in there. In our chat room, there's a few comments. James Brahimi says Peter Farrelly is an Oscar-winning director. Best Picture winner. Let that sink in. And Rhythm Orientated says love Green Book, but it was the story, not the direction. So some different thoughts out there about Green Book. Riley, is there a category you want to touch on that you're particularly surprised by or interested in tonight?
Well, we saw, I don't know, it's not the most interesting thing, but when we got those Bohemian Rhapsody wins, then I was starting to be concerned about, maybe tide is turning for Green Book. Maybe it's going to be that kind of a night where the more populist films win Oscars. And Bohemian Rhapsody winning sound editing when musicals aren't even normally nominated, I think is a sign that in the future we should be looking for, if they get in, then that's the hurdle that they have to face. As for Green Book, I mean, that one's going to get a lot of flack and has been getting all season. But I'd say that's one of the better movies, in my opinion, that's won Best Picture in recent years. I mean, I don't agree with it as the Best Picture, but I never agree with the Best Picture.
Yeah. Best Picture to me the past 5 years has been like, okay, I hated that one worse than the last year. I hated that one worse than last year. And this one, I actually like Green Book. It's in my top 10.
Yeah, exactly.
And looking at some of those like technical categories that you're touching on, Riley, like I got the Bohemian Rhapsody predictions correct. I predicted it was going to win those editing and sound mixing and actor, and partly it's because I'd seen some of the precursor support for it throughout the guilds and things like that. It just seemed like the kind of film that people were wanting to tick off there. But what I completely missed the mark on was how well Black Panther would do tonight. Yeah. And it hurt my predictions. I'm a bit sad about that, but I'm actually really happy that film did as well as it did, taking out 3 awards, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, taking out 3 awards, really and really sort of upsetting the favorite in a couple of the favorite, which was the favorite in a couple of categories.
People were worried that the favorite was going to go home empty-handed after it lost costumes and production design back to back, and that would have happened if not for Olivia.
Yeah, and then it lost. I thought screenplays, its last chance. But that was really an accomplishment. It was the first movie in the Marvel comic universe, Black Panther, to take home an Oscar. There have been other Marvel, like Big Hero 6 and Spider-Man 2 were both based on Marvel comic books that won Oscars. But it's the first one of that whole Avengers, like Robert Downey Jr., Chris, all that world of Marvel films to win an Oscar. And Infinity Wars didn't win Best Visual Effects. So it really was just Black Panther that won for the Marvel comic universe.
That was surprising because the way it was going, Black Panther wins 3, right? And then Spider-Man wins, and it's like there's a superhero takeover of the Oscars. And all of a sudden, it's stopped in its tracks when the Avengers Infinity War loses visual effects to a movie with supporting visual effects, The First Man.
Do you think, Riley, that if Black Panther was if Black Panther had won Best Picture tonight, would that have killed any sort of rumblings of a Best Popular Film category in the future? Because I feel like it would make it sort of a bit redundant. Oh, look, a superhero movie can win this award.
Like, do you think there are still rumblings about them? Like, do you believe what John Bailey said about, maybe next year?
I think there'll be some people pushing for it. I don't know whether, like, they'll be able to get it through, but I do think a Black Panther win could have really killed that argument that there needs to be a popular film win a category.
I'd say overall, popular films did very well at the Oscars this year.
Yeah.
Green Book has actually gone on to make a lot of money. And it didn't go to Roma, which, is a black and white foreign Netflix movie. So I feel like, everyday people will be reasonably satisfied with these Oscars.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Marcus?
I was going to say, before I logged on, I heard you guys talking about presenter pairings and everything.
Yeah.
And did you talk about Tina, Amy, and Maya?
Tina. Yeah, we talked a bit about them. What did you think about them, Marcus?
I thought they were so good that I wished they had done that little "we're not your hosts" thing throughout the show, as if they were the hosts. But it was kind of like they should have come out every half hour and just said, remember, we're not your hosts, but now we're going to do another little comedy bit. It just would have been so good.
Yeah. And something we didn't touch on with them that I really liked is they opened by sort of addressing the elephant in the room of all the changes that had been made to the Oscars that year, or changes that hadn't been made to the Oscars that year that had been talked about, and just got out in front of it and had a bit of a laugh at it, which was good.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how the ratings will do this, like, you know, because Black Panther and Star is Born and Bohemian were all nominated, will the ratings go up this year?
No, I think they're just going to get worse every year. I mean, I thought they'd go up when everybody knew that Leo was going to win, but you know, everybody just looked it up on YouTube the next day. I don't think they want to sit through a 3.5 or 4.5 hour ceremony.
Like, millions of people still watch this show, right? It's not like, you know, like, it's just like less people are watching. Like ratings for everything's down, isn't it? Like, unless it's the Super Bowl or something. So it's just, I guess, a slightly new media environment.
Yeah, I mean, people are watching more than ever. It's just too spread out.
Like, I don't think putting 4 awards in the commercial breaks is going to have a huge impact on ratings one way or the other. Whether you like the decision or don't like the decision. Were there any other categories, Riley, that we haven't touched on yet that you'd want to delve into? Give us your insights.
I'm not sure. I thought the ceremony moved actually pretty well without a host.
Yeah.
I would not be opposed to keeping that. I mean, it's nice to have the monologue as something kind of singular to look back on. But
yeah,
like usually the other bits don't work.
Yeah, there really were no like comedy bits, were there? Like, there was no bring in the audience from this tour bus, and there was no, you know, whatever Neil Patrick Harris was doing with that
magic show,
magic trick. They cut all that.
Yeah, Keegan came from the sky. Keegan descended into the audience. That was the closest thing to any sort of audience interaction.
Yeah.
Which I think when it's too forced, it's a bit weird, but I do like it when someone gets out there and maybe just talks to 1 or 2 of the people in the audience, puts them on the spot a little bit. I think that's a fun moment. But you don't need a host for that necessarily. You could just get, you know, just a comedian when it's their bit to do it from the crowd or whatever if they want. Yeah.
You guys talk about Best Actor and how terrible that win was?
No, we didn't. But please, you've got opinions, Riley. Rip into them.
Oh well, that you know that performance was just the worst.
Riley, what? When I left a screening of that, I said this guy's gonna win. He's so good.
Oh, he's good. So, what? So you're disappointed, right? Why should he have not won? What's your thought there? And then we can have Marcus can take the other side of the coin or the argument.
Well, yeah, this is getting more into biases, but I don't know. I thought beyond, you know, the movie being questionable, like, was he just doing kind of a fake British accent? I feel like Rami Malek is, you know, he's very much Rami Malek. He has his own mannerisms, and I felt like I could see that through his whole performance as Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
No, I totally disagree. He sings, he dances, he put on this whole persona. And he wore those fake teeth. He won the Oscar for the teeth, just like Viola Davis won the Emmy for that wig. They love these little things that you put on your face. That's how you win awards.
Well, what about Christian Bale? There's stuff all over his face.
Well, he was in second.
Right.
Yeah, can't give 2.
Yeah, look, I think it was again one of these transformative young performances playing a real life person. I don't know, and look, this Rami Malek. Won for his first Emmy, for his first nomination, Mr. Robot. He won his first Oscar for his first nomination for Bohemian Rhapsody. This guy, if he releases a single next year, pick him for the Grammys. Okay, like pick him to win Best Album at the Grammys next year. I'm gonna now ask Charles Bright, Daniel Montgomery, and Tony to beam into the chat while we wrap up with Marcus and Riley. So just, is there any last thoughts that either of you have, Riley, that you want to make sure we touch on?
Sure. I mean, Roma is my favorite movie in years, but I am glad that Green Book won and people will be going to see it, because ultimately I do think that it has a message that maybe we can consider problematic in the future. But right now, when you have a president who's, you know, condoning racist behavior, or, you know, displaying that himself, I feel like the simple message of racism is bad actually is very appropriate for 2019.
Interesting. And Marcus, do you have any sort of last sort of concluding thoughts?
Yeah, Amy Adams loses her 6th. Glenn Close loses her 7th. It's like, what do we have to do to give these amazing actresses an Oscar? Like, Daniel, didn't you have an idea where you want them to star in something together next year or something?
Oh yeah. Well, obviously they now need their Holocaust movie. So they need to. It needs to be a revisionist revenge thriller where Glenn Close and Amy Adams, they could be like a mother-daughter team who like team up to like kill Nazis and like completely stop the Holocaust, just the two of them.
And they have to wear false teeth.
Well, one of them false teeth, one of them could get Nicole Kidman's nose.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. So hopefully we will never be in a world where Amy Adams and Glenn Close are nominated against each other at the Oscars.
No.
Wouldn't that be horrific?
Calculate that film and that screenplay so that like Amy Adams has like maybe 2/3 the screen time Glenn Close has, so she slots nicely into supporting actress, Glenn Close into lead.
Or they have the same amount, or they have the same amount, and they go in different categories anyway.
You don't necessarily want to even have that question in the air because people are going to get annoyed. And just give Amy Adams 2 less scenes, and you're good. She's supported.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Riley and Marcus, for your thoughts and input and valuable insights today. Goodbye. Have a good one,
Bye-bye.
and try to get some sleep tonight, guys. Okay, here we go. Daniel, we might kick things off with you. Your Green Book thoughts. Riley was just giving a bit of a positive spin on things. I feel like from what I've heard from you in the past, you might have a slightly different perspective on how Green Book might be looked at as a winner.
You know, actually, I'm going to take a surprisingly nuanced opinion on this because I don't think Green Book was nearly as racist as like 3 Billboards. So 3 Billboards I'm less upset the Green Book won than
you would have been.
3 Billboards last year, and it's less racist than The Blind Side too. So I just feel like I was so deflated.
That's a low bar.
That's what I was about to say. Very low bar. It has severe white savior problems where you even have a scene in the end where, you know, Mahershala decides to drive his buddy back home. I was just watching this like, no, don't do that. And they did it. It's dispiriting in a year where they did so many like bold, transgressive things for the Oscars. You know, the firsts for, Black Panther winning, Ruthie Carter, Hannah Beachler winning. You had some of the rare Asian winners for Best Foreign Language, Best Documentary, the first Mexican film ever to win Best Foreign Language Film. And, 3 out of the 4 acting winners were played queer characters, which never happened before in history. Depending on how you think of it, those films' depictions of queer characters is another question. But,
going the other way on that one.
Yeah, but it is undeniable that those characters were depicted as queer and sympathetic. But Green Book then to win Best Picture felt like, let's do all this bold, interesting stuff, and then pick Driving Miss Daisy again. Like it just felt like, why did you pick the safest and the blandest of the possible, like of even the race movies that you had Black Panther and Black Klansman, critically acclaimed, both made a lot of money. No one would have been upset to see either of those films win. And they went with
sorry, Tony.
Because even with all this influx of new membership, even with all these new members, there's still a predominantly old white membership in the Academy. It's so jarring.
It is so jarring. I could see that if this were consistent, but this is the Academy that gave 12 Years a Slave, Best Picture, and that gave Moonlight Best Picture. They the older, whiter electorate of the Academy had La La Land just sitting in their lap, and they actively went out of their way for Moonlight. So to pick Green Book just feels, and even The Shape of Water last year was really bold and transgressive in its own way. And so they picked the movie by white male filmmakers, to make white audiences comfortable about racism in a way. It's just like, I didn't hate the film as much as many people. Like, if it weren't like a big Oscar movie, I'd think, oh, it was fine. And Mahershala Ali absolutely deserved, I think, his Oscar. I thought he was extraordinary in the film.
Yeah. But Daniel, Viggo Mortensen made that movie. Without Viggo Mortensen, that film would have never happened.
Made it like a foldable pizza.
I know. Isn't that
made it like a foldable pizza? Bada bing, bada
isn't that what they said?
Yeah, well, you're gonna break my balls here.
Yeah. No,
isn't that what was that was the big that was the big thing in the acceptance speech. Best Picture. Viggo Mortensen. Yeah. Don't forget this guy. This guy made it happen.
That was
here before everyone else.
Peter Farrelly. Yeah. That was Peter Farrelly saying that. So take that with what you will. Who has 2 Oscars now?
Yeah.
I was
more
jesting.
Oscars than Spike Lee.
I was having
Peter Farrelly has
God,
more Oscars than Spike Lee.
You just had to rub that in.
Let's sit with that for a second.
Oh, and more than Glenn Close and Amy Adams.
Just don't. I can't.
Okay.
I just felt like it was a missed opportunity and a really bad look. It's not a terrible movie. I think it's fine. I even liked it. I liked it pretty well when I saw it, but I, just especially with the accusations of inaccuracy about the script, and from Don Shirley's family, it made it seem like they really didn't pay much attention to who that character really was. Even though I thought, watching the film, not knowing anything about him, I thought it was a really lovely characterization, but possibly not accurate.
And Nick Vallelonga with his
Well, I was actually
Twitter conspiracies.
I was actually you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you were reacting, and so I'm not sure if you could hear me.
Just trying to change you out.
There's just so many feelings going on here.
No, and believe me, I almost had a Margot Martindale reaction with my television, but then I remembered I paid over $500 for it. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that to my television. Let's just also have to sink in that this is a film, and this is why, and it's because of the Oscar attention that I'm having this visceral reaction to it. This is a film that is supposedly about racial harmony, that was co-written and spearheaded and produced by a man who has trafficked in racist conspiracy theories proudly. And I think that says everything that you need to know about sometimes the really dumbfounded reaction that you're going to have, that there are going to be a million think pieces about in the next 48 hours. There is a reason. There's a good reason for this frustration with these wins by the Academy, because it's also just as you said before, it's like this is an Academy that we have seen in recent years do stuff that's really bold, and then to go for something like this is just
It's the best picture of 1985. It really is, and I don't.
Yeah, I would even go far to say I would even say 1965.
Yeah. But at the same time, and I don't I'm not someone. I'm in Sydney. I'm a white guy in Sydney, Australia. But I watched.
You're the problem.
Yeah, I'm the but then but I'm watching the Oscars, and then I see there's a Congressman John Lewis, someone who does understand the racial tensions in America in a very real, substantial way, paying tribute to the film. So it's a complex. It is a bit as someone very removed from the situation, it's hard to digest all the different voices and thoughts about it.
I can't. I don't remember because I had Twitter in the background, so I don't know who to attribute this to. But the funniest tweet I saw all night after that presentation was, "Boy, is John Lewis going to be mad when he actually sees Green Book."
That's the best. That's the best.
That's good.
So there was. I think there's just a very. It's just, and also for it to win the screenplay prize, it's just something that I don't think is that well written. Everything's kind of
lost WGA.
Yeah, I mean, it to something that wasn't even nominated at the Oscars. I really just it's a frustrating win, and you know we're only we're an hour out from the ceremony over. That win already has not aged well.
No. Yeah,
and that was the thing. And that's the thing that I think I actually found most objectionable about the movie. And I'm like you, Daniel. If it weren't getting this Oscar attention, I wouldn't have as many issues with the movie. I'd be like, fine, whatever. It's whatever. But you know, the fact that they went with this, you know, at this time is oh god, it's just really frustrating.
It just seems so retrograde. It just seems like it seems like such a step backwards when you think about, you know, the other films that they could have honored. You know, Black Klansman, which has so much more to say about where we are race relations wise. The Favorite, which you know is not even a film I was as hyped on as everybody else, but yet is at least so much more original than Green Book, and you know,
has that bite of the dialogue too. It has that bite of dialogue, whereas you know, the way that Tony Lip is written, he seems like a rejected extra from The Sopranos. And
I was just gonna say that. Damn you, Charlie!
Oh God, you know I love you.
I think Nick Vallelonga's dad actually was on The Sopranos.
Oh my God, I think you're right. Yeah. So an accepted extra on The Sopranos. But you know, it felt like there wasn't anything new to it. And if you're going to, you know, elevate it to this level, especially with the Best Picture prize, you would hope that there's something new there, and there wasn't. And this is a film that has a lot of problems and its legacy is going to be hurt by this. I think it's just you know, Driving Miss Daisy is a film that has, you know, a lot of issues with it in terms of how it presents racism, but I think that if it hadn't won Best Picture, you know, most attitudes would be like, okay, whatever about that movie, it was all right, but whatever. This one is going to make the reactions much more visceral, and that's gonna hurt the movie in the long run.
And it is with the Best Picture award. It sort of encapsulates a moment in time and sort of represents something bigger than just the film itself. So it will be probably under greater scrutiny looking forward, and it might result in that. I think it's interesting though, like these wins and what we saw tonight is a group like the Oscars is a complicated group with nuance within itself, and you can go from Green Book winning Best Screenplay. Yeah, but you can go from Green Book winning Best Screenplay to Black Klansman winning Best Screenplay to films that have very different sensitivities in the area of race and things like that. But we don't want to just talk about the Best Picture race and talk just about no,
Matt, there
were other awards.
There were other awards tonight.
All we're going to talk about, and when the revolution comes, you will not be spared.
And Daniel, in particular, you're a big fan of superhero films, and this was a really great night, especially the first half of the evening for superhero movies. Black Klansman broke through with wins. Black Panther. I'm getting everything muddled in my head now. Black Panther broke through for the Marvel Comic Universe. Spider-Man was able to win Best Animated Feature. Daniel, what does this mean for superhero movies at the Oscars moving forward?
It's interesting because I'm actually kind of agnostic about superhero movies in general. There have been a few that I've loved, and I've seen most, and most of them I think have gotten the Oscar nominations and wins they've deserved. Except for Dark Knight. I think Dark Knight was legitimately screwed, which is why we had the sliding scale after that of 10 Best Picture nominees. I think the wins for Black Panther were outstanding. I think in those particular categories, I was so afraid it was going to get shut out. And the fact that it won production design and costumes, historic wins for really outstanding, original, visually stunning achievements.
And those were two of the best speeches. Those were two of the best speeches of the night.
Absolutely. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, not just for the diversity on screen, you know, everyone from an Afro-Latino Spider-Man to a pig Spider-Man, you know, it's diversity. Like, it's, you know, it could teach Green Book a thing or two.
Spider-Ham!
And it felt like going into the season, it felt like, oh, Spider-Man's getting all these great reviews. It's not winning Best Animated Feature, is it though? And then it just kept winning everything just because it was good, which is amazingly rare at the Oscars.
Yeah, I thought it might be I thought it might be this year's Lego Movie at one point.
Yeah.
Like,
and Peter Ramsey, one of the 3 directors, first Black nominee in the history of Best Animated Feature, and now the first Black winner, which is just
how exciting,
extraordinary.
Can we also say that when we get Lord and Miller get an Oscar now, after being egregiously snubbed, what was it? I guess 5 years ago for the Lego Movie.
And I gave them the Gold Derby bump because I interviewed 2 of the directors, Ramsey and Rothman. And I hosted a Q&A with Lord Miller for some guild or something. I can't remember. No, it was actually BAFTA. It was actually BAFTA.
They all blur together at this point.
They do. So I gave it the double bump.
If you went down the past 15 years, Best Picture winner versus Best Animated Feature winner, I think I'd go with Best Animated Feature winner more often than Best Picture winner. As to the film I like best.
Yeah, a lot of cases, yeah. And some of them were like Inside Out was my #1 film of that year.
Yes.
Wall-E was my #1 film of that year. Spider-Man was on my top 10 list this year, and Green Book was
Green Book wasn't in your top 10 list this year.
No, it was not.
Yeah, so the animation canon is quite impressive. Don't agree with every winner every year in that race, but just a really great list of movies that holds up very well compared to the Best Picture lineups, Best Picture winners. Tony, is there a category we haven't touched on yet that you'd like to talk about or delve into?
One of the my favorite speech of the night, and it was totally came out of nowhere as my favorite, which was the 2 directors of Period End of Sentence. I thought that their enthusiasm, their joy, the things that they said, I mean, she gets up there and says, you know, I'm not crying because I'm on my period. I can't believe that a movie about menstruation has won an Oscar. And then to end with that line about, you know, a period should end a sentence, not a woman's education. I thought that speech just came out of nowhere and made the case for why these below the line categories need to be on the main telecast. These are people who have worked really, really hard to make these films and to make their contributions. Now, granted, the Best Makeup winners almost ruined it for everybody.
Oh my goodness. They almost cut to commercial like in the middle of that just because it's like, what are they doing?
I was praying for them to cut to commercial at one point. But I felt like for the most part, you saw the most joy, the most just absolute ebullience from these below the line categories. And I hope that, and I feel like, you know, I said in my review, which will be published shortly, that
yes, I was working on it before coming here.
I really do think that with all of the bumps in the road leading up to this Oscar ceremony, I really felt like this was one of the best ceremonies that I can remember in recent time. It was fast paced. It didn't drag. Yeah, there are things we can nitpick, but as a whole, I really felt like it moved quickly. It was emotional when it needed to be. I thought that a lot of the presenters did really well. I never thought I would say this, but bravo to Tyler Perry for what he said during the presentation of the cinematography category. I thought the speeches were good. I thought Olivia Colman walked away with the whole night. As sad as I am for Glenn Close, and not just because she hasn't won, but because I love The Wife. I feel like that movie's gotten short shrift. But I feel like Olivia Colman Olivia Colman did what Glenn Close did at the Golden Globes. She got the before standing ovation and the after standing ovation. I feel like there was an energy and a fast pacedness to the show that I haven't really seen in a long time, and that was incredibly refreshing. And I feel like, bravo, with everything that led up to this. I don't think we ever need to have a host again. I feel like the show did just fine without it.
Yeah, without a host, it's interesting. You got a sense, like in real time, like just looking at the clock, being like, oh, the show's almost over and it's a little over 3 hours. And I never noticed the host was missing. And you just realize how much extra unnecessary space a host actually takes up when you've got 24 categories.
They did a smart thing. I thought that without the host, that they were going to resort to like a lot of unnecessary montages and stuff like that. They really kept those down to I think there was one at the beginning and then the in memoriam, but for the most part, they really resisted that urge. And I thought that was smart.
And clips of all the nominated actors. Love that.
Yes. And good clips too.
Mostly. They could have done better with a couple.
I think I think a really interesting thing with this award show, or like is there's been a lot of criticism and a lot of like bad press for the Academy this year for all the backflips and things. Like at the end of the day, they listened. Like they changed a lot of these decisions. When there was a negative reaction, they didn't just dig their heels in and say, "Well, we're doing this anyway." You don't know.
Well, they did it first. They did it first. They did it first, and they only relented in the last week, which makes me kind of think that maybe that was all just a strategy to ratchet up fervor about the Oscars and make the Oscars, more discussed, and especially like trending on social media, and then at the end, just be like, no, we're not going to do that. Nah. So,
that actually explains a lot, because what that means is that, every backlash they have sort of retreated on, which means next week we'll find out that Black Klansman actually won Best Picture.
Is there, Charles, is there a category you'd like to talk about that we haven't talked about yet? Well,
first of all, I do want to throw a shout out to some of the presenters really brought their A game. Like Melissa McCarthy and Brian Tyree Henry deserves every bit of credit. Because he did that great thing. Because most people were just focusing on Melissa McCarthy's thing with the bunnies from The Favorite, but they were each of them were wearing aspects of the different nominees, including Black Panther, because Tyree Henry had the hairstyle that Michael B. Jordan has, and while Melissa was speaking, I didn't think that he could top like her with the bunny. But then he was like trying to move the hair out of his eyes the whole time, and I was just dying. I was just dying with that. That was
genius.
They did so well together. I loved that. I do want to touch on some of the short categories. We talked about period and end of sentence, and that absolutely beautiful speech. I thought the speech by Domi Shi, who won Best Animated Short for Bao, when she said to all the nerdy girls with your sketchbooks, that was priceless.
Yeah, that
was absolutely priceless.
I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna play that for some of my students tomorrow, because I have some students that are like that, and they get a lot of grief from some of their fellow classmates. And I just felt like that was so beautifully modulated and was, again, authentic. The term that keeps coming across with a lot of the winners, with the exception of a couple, was just the absolute joy that came through a lot of these winners. And that makes all the difference.
And I don't know if I would put it. I actually have an article that's going to be posting shortly about the best speeches of the evening. I have 6 that I singled out. But even ones I didn't single out, I thought were fun and communicated perfectly the mood of the winners. Like even like live action short. Seeing those guys up there, seeing the 2 winners up there, especially the I can't remember the woman's name, but.
Jamie Ray Newman, say her name.
Okay,
yes.
okay. And And she's just up there like screaming and just like dying. And I was just like, you can't help but be like insanely happy for them.
Yeah.
Could she be the first alum? Could she be the first General Hospital alum to win an Oscar?
I don't know. There've been a lot like over the years from soaps, but I was buying on the shorts. I didn't get to see them this year, and I got 2 out of 3 right, so I'm never watching them again. But so I didn't know that she produced that one, and then when they announced that she won, I was just like, Alexis's little sister won an Oscar. Which of the people who are interested in both soap operas and the Oscars, this will satisfy the 2 of you who are watching this post show right now. But I was very excited to see Jamie Ray Newman win an Oscar. That was a wonderful, wonderful moment.
Yeah,
and even though I thought his speech wasn't as great, I loved the reaction of Spike Lee. Spike Lee was having a fun night tonight, and that was cool. When Ruth Carter shouted him out.
Yeah, he jumped in Samuel L. Jackson's arms when Barbra Streisand shouted out Brooklyn. I was like, oh my goodness.
I was like,
memo to the Academy: when Spike Lee wins his first competitive Oscar, you don't play him off.
They didn't even play him off; they just cut him off.
Ugh.
Yeah, well, Spike Lee winning was the moment of the night for me. I just thought that excitement and his passion and like that for me was the real my highlight. And I think that was so great for him to win, so great for Black Klansman to win. Every Best Picture nominee took home something. Everyone left the game with a prize tonight, at least from the Best Picture field. And looking at it, Bohemian Rhapsody, is that the big winner of tonight? Did that win more Oscars than any other movie?
It's the big winner.
It's the big winner.
4 out of 5.
And apparently was not directed by anybody.
Yeah, that's going to be a black mark on that movie for a long time. And honestly, because I was writing an article about updating our LGBT Oscar winners gallery, and it's weird to have to add Bohemian Rhapsody and Green Book to that particular gallery because it feels like they count technically.
Yeah, has Bryan Singer tweeted anything tonight? I know, like
not if he's smart.
Well,
he's not though.
That man is not smart, obviously.
You remember after the Globes, he tweeted, "Thanks for all your support." Like,
yeah.
And the weird thing about that also is well, I was going to say that John Ottman winning is that when he was talking about making movies in his garage. Who was he making movies with in that garage? Bryan Singer.
Yeah,
they've been working together for over 25 years.
And it's a little dispiriting when you think that of the LGBT movies that won this year, the only one that had a queer director had that one, and it's a little bit.
I know. I put that gallery together, and I'm like, oh god.
We're getting close to wrap up time, so I'm just trying to touch some beats we haven't hit yet. Free Solo for Best Documentary Feature, a bit of a mild upset there. I think a lot of people at RBG.
I thought Free Solo was ahead. Was it? Top of our prediction.
After the BAFTAs, I think Free Solo ended up.
Well, I was wrong. A mild upset for me. But no, that's I'm kicking myself because I changed that prediction today, and that was partially because I just thought, oh boy, the sentiment and love for Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the political time we're in, I think people are going to rally around her. But I had Free Solo for a long time because I think that's the kind of movie that they'd vote for here. I think that's the kind of movie that they like because it's like a bold, like it's not about a person as much as it's about the filmmaking. A bit like
it's about the journey too.
Yeah, like Icarus last year. We're making a documentary film. We're going to see where this goes. We don't know how it's going to end. Whereas the same with Free Solo. Is he going to die? Like, we don't know. Let's film it and find out. And probably with a bit more sensitivity than that.
Maybe a bit.
But that's interesting. Whereas Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you sort of know how that documentary's ending when you start.
I mean, she's lived a long life, so that documentary could have had a similar theme, depending.
Don't put that out there.
Gonna die by the end out there. Let's find out. Yeah, but no. So that was sort of kicking myself a bit over that. Though most predictions I changed today was to the winner, so I'm not regretting making changes. Foreign language film Roma, it won 3 awards. We talked about Bohemian Rhapsody with its wins. I think often you'll find with a film like that that's quite popular amongst the Academy, which Bohemian Rhapsody clearly was, you can get little mini sweeps in those technical awards. Like they'll take out sort of 3 awards. Black Panther won 3. Vice won makeup. Vice won something. That's good. Yeah, that's pretty, like, I think we've pretty much touched on all the categories, like, or at least all the films that won something. Have I missed anything?
I do think we need to think about that if Netflix can get The Crown out before Emmy deadline, you might as well just...
Oh, yeah.
You might as well just engrave Olivia Colman's name right now. And if they care... if Mr. Robot comes back for its final season, wouldn't it be interesting to see both lead actor and actress repeat at the Emmys?
It would be cool. I wonder, it'll probably be harder for Mr. Robot because I know the production on that was delayed, not even because of any of this award stuff, but because of Homecoming. So Sam Esmail wasn't working on Mr. Robot at the time, and that actually delayed that show. So.
But I thought it was. I do think it was pretty cool, and this is something only awards nerds like us even think about. The fact that Allison Janney was the one to present Rami Malek with both his Emmy and his Oscar.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I did not realize that either. Yeah, and Regina King also won for Beale Street Could Talk. We haven't really touched much about that. And that, like,
so happy.
This is where I get to say, Daniel, told you so.
Yeah, Daniel, what's this? You were with Rachel Weisz?
I knew that the circumstances were a little different, but I wasn't going to go against math. It turns out that the Oscars don't do math anymore because, you know, like in terms of the tea leaves, it's like they're just all over the place with new Academy members and the preferential ballot. Green Book didn't have an ensemble nomination at the SAG Awards, didn't have a Best Director nomination at the Oscars, and no one was outraged that it didn't have a Best Director nomination at the Oscars. So, you know, it seemed to be important. These things don't seem to matter in the same way anymore, and I guess SAG and BAFTA don't mean the same anymore. Although Regina King was helped by 2 favorite actresses who both had Oscars. That was definitely a contributing factor, I think.
Yeah, and I think just to not not to take anything away from Regina's performance, which was incredible, but
absolutely.
It was the field served her well. She got a good field. You know, like even if an Emily Blunt was in for A Quiet Place and she had an amazing year with Mary Poppins as well, and maybe there would have been some, she got snubbed for Mary Poppins, we want to vote for her for quite late. So she really fortunately, there wasn't any one person that really rose to the top. And you're probably right, Daniel, with Rachel Weisz being the one who would beat her, if anyone. But great job.
And I also gave her the Gold Derby bump because I interviewed her last fall. So
there you go. Fantastic.
One of my favorite humans who deserves an Oscar, so I'm thrilled.
How many of the other supporting actress nominees did an interview with Gold Derby?
Vice didn't, Stone didn't. Marina de Tavira did.
Okay, she did.
And who was the last one? Amy Adams did not.
No, so there you go. There you go.
I did an interview with Domi Shi and Becky Newman Cobb from the animated short categories. So I did my part on that one.
And actually, when I was going over the, when I was doing it category by category on the report, I was putting in links to all our interviews wherever we had interviewed a winner.
Yeah.
Well over half of the categories we interviewed a winner. If not, like if it was like a team of like visual effects or something like that, we interviewed at least one of them.
One of those guys. Yeah.
So it well over half the categories. It was actually quite shocking. I was like, oh, we interviewed that person too. Oh, we interviewed that person too. I think maybe every short, maybe we interviewed someone for. So yeah, good on us. So everyone in the future, Amy Adams, if you want to win, actually no, Glenn Close did one with us.
Glenn Close did an interview with us. Oh no.
No.
But it usually helps.
Yeah.
It usually helps. It doesn't hurt, at least.
Yeah. So, boy, and on that, we might wrap things up. Does anyone have one last thought? Anything they were busting to talk about they didn't get a chance to?
I just feel like it was just a really great ceremony. Upsets aside, and how we might feel about the winners, I feel like as a television show, I thought that after all the ups and downs of the season and everything that they went through, they put on a great show, and I couldn't be more thrilled about that.
I just want to do a shout out for the in memoriam reel. I wasn't as thrilled by that. I think they could have done a better way of presenting the people who had passed away rather than just a single little photo. However, I do applaud. I don't know if this was because they muted the audience or the audience actually followed instructions, but we could not hear any applause from the audience during that in memoriam reel. And I found that very tasteful, and I'm glad that they finally caught on to that. I was also very, very touched that the final image for in memoriam was the great Albert Finney. That was very deserved on his part. So that made me very happy.
Yep.
And I think my last thought is similar. It's been mentioned also. No hosts, just you don't need them. It's better to, if you want one, have someone come in and do a quick bit at the beginning, like literally 5-minute bit, like Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, and Maya Rudolph did, and then just let the show be the show. And the only thing a host does, it feels like, after watching this, is leave you needing to find something for that host to do, and sometimes it works and a lot of times it doesn't, and the stuff that doesn't really drags the show down. And so I much preferred the show without a host, and I was actually quite surprised by that.
I think it was a really mixed bag, the Oscars this year, looking at the winners and things like that. Like, what wonderful wins for Black Panther, Black Klansman winning screenplay, Into the Spider-Verse winning animated film. There was some just wonderful, really exciting, innovative wins. And then there were some that were a bit maybe disappointing, like Green Book winning Best Picture. So just mixed bag, and then completely encapsulated by Best Actress, which was both horrible and wonderful at the same time. And I think this was a year of the Oscars which has some wonderful and disappointingness all wrapped into one. Okay, thanks everyone for watching, and stay tuned to Gold Derby. Emmys Prediction Center open now.
Already hundreds of people made their predictions for Emmys.
I am not one of them. I was waiting for this show to wrap up, but I will go and do that right now. So there you go. And join the forums. We can still be talking about the Oscars there, and I'm sure there'll be plenty to be said over the next 48 hours about the Oscars as well. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Bye. Okay, there we go.